Today on the BV3D channel, we're taking a look at what might be the ultimate AMS upgrade for the Bambu Lab P1S and X1C. I'm Brian, and you are watching BV3D. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. More on them in just a bit. Hello 3D printing friends, and welcome back. Today we're taking a look at a riser that's designed to make living with your Bambu Lab printer just a little bit easier. It lets you vent the print chamber without removing the top glass, gives you much easier access to the inside of the printer, and even provides a place to install LED lighting. But before we take a closer look at the riser itself, let's talk about why someone would design something like this in the first place. Don't get me wrong, the P1S and X1C are great printers, but after you've lived with one for a while, there are a few little quality of life annoyances that start to stand out. The first one is airflow. PLA and PETG can benefit from a little extra ventilation to keep the chamber cool. That's why you'll sometimes see people printing with the door open, propping the top glass open, or removing it entirely. But once the glass comes off, you have to find somewhere to put it. And if you only wanted a little extra airflow, removing the whole lid can feel like overkill. Another issue is access. Every once in a while, you need to get inside the printer. Maybe you're lubricating the Y rods. Maybe you're replacing a nozzle. Maybe you're retrieving that tiny little squiggle of filament that somehow launched itself into another dimension. Going in through the top is often the easiest approach. But with the AMS sitting on top of the glass, that's not always convenient. You might have to lift the AMS off and set it next to the printer, or you might have to disconnect it and move it somewhere else while you work. And then there's the lighting. The built-in light works, technically, but I don't think anybody has ever looked inside a stock P1S or X1C and thought, dang, that's a lot of light. Whether you're checking on a print, performing maintenance, shooting video, or using the built-in camera, more light is almost always welcome. So we've got three separate annoyances, and none of these things are really deal breakers. But after you've reached around the AMS for the 15th time or set the top glass on your desk for the 20th, you start looking for a better solution. And if there was a way to solve all three of these without permanently modifying the printer, well, that's where this riser comes in. So this is the AMS Flipper Glass Slider Riser V6 by Sanja 3D. It's a riser that sits between the printer and the AMS. It tackles airflow. It makes getting into the printer much easier. And it gives you a place to add an LED strip for much better lighting. So let's see how it's put together. I printed the main frame pieces in black PLA and used yellow PLA for the remaining parts to add some contrast. The frame itself prints as 4 corner sections. Once they're finished, they simply snap together. The remaining parts bring all the cool features to the party. Optional backstops keep the glass from sliding too far out the back. Clips secure the riser to the top of the printer. Feet support the front of the AMS, and hinges support the rear. One design detail I thought was especially clever is the hinge pins. The pins and these pegs are printed in different orientations. That means their layer lines run at 90 degrees to each other. It's a lot like plywood, where alternating grain directions produce a stronger final assembly. Once the square pegs are tapped into place, the hinges are surprisingly strong. The parts take about 8 hours to print, assembly only takes a few minutes, and the Maker World page includes a detailed PDF with step-by-step assembly and installation instructions. So now comes the fun part. This is where you start to see why Sanja 3D came up with this design in the first place. The top glass rides in a slot built into the riser. So instead of removing the lid, you can simply slide it back a little. That gives you additional ventilation while still keeping the printer enclosed. And when you're done, just slide it closed again. When you need to access the printer, the AMS simply tilts backward. Then slide the glass forward and lift it out. That leaves the entire top of the printer wide open. The AMS stays connected the whole time. Just tilt it back, do what you need to do, and tilt it back into place when you're finished. Around the inside of the riser is space for an LED strip. I used a USB-powered strip because the P1S has a USB port inside the printer. But if you'd rather power it another way, there's also an opening at the back of the riser for the LED cable. Once it's installed, the difference compared to the factory lighting is pretty dramatic. It's easier to see your prints, easier to work inside the printer, and I just think it looks great. Most people know PCBWay for their high-quality, low-cost printed circuit boards, but they actually do a whole lot more than that. They also offer CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, flexible PCBs, and even full PCB assembly services if you want populated boards delivered ready to use. Whether you're building a one-off hobby project or getting ready for production, PCBWay can help you turn your ideas into real hardware. And if you'd like to check them out for yourself, there's a link down in the description. Before you fire up your printer, there are a few things worth keeping in mind. First, the riser does add a little bit of height to the printer. If you've already got your P1S or X1C tucked under a shelf or cabinet, make sure you've got enough room. You'll also want a little extra clearance behind the printer. The AMS tilts backward to give you access to the top glass, so it needs enough room to move. And while I think the LED lighting is one of the nicest features, it's completely optional. The riser works just fine without it. Other than that, there really aren't any surprises. It's a simple print, it's easy to assemble, and it does exactly what it's designed to do. After using this riser for a while, I can definitely see why it's such a popular design. It solves several little annoyances without making the printer more complicated to use. I especially like that you can have ventilation, easy access, and better lighting all in a single upgrade. So if you've ever found yourself wishing for just a little more airflow, easier access to the print chamber, or better lighting, I think this riser is well worth printing. Have you added a riser to your Bambu printer, or are you still running the stock setup? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to print one yourself, I've linked the model and the LED strip I used below. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone who uses those links to help support the channel, and of course a big thanks to my channel members as well. If you found this video helpful, a thumbs up would be great, and if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you here. Well, 3D printing friends, that's about all the time we have for this one, and now that we're at the end, let's go print something cool.